Hey guys, what's up? It's Baller welcoming you back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video. Not too long after that video I made just talking about the current release of sets and everything, we did get the newest announcement for our next big set coming out, Wisdom of Sea and Sky. This is featuring Ho-oh and Lugia and will be available July 30th. As stated in my previous video, the rare inconsistency of packs is both a blessing and a curse because it always feels like you're still having to get a little bit left done, but wouldn't you believe that I just finished Eevee Grove yesterday? Now that doesn't mean I have all of the secret cards, that would be an absolute insane feat to have, but at the very least for the standard set, I did actually get them all. But let's actually talk about the new cards being shown off, first of all being Ho-oh EX. So Ho-oh EX has 150 HP and is a fire type. It has the move Phoenix Turbo for 3 colorless energies and does 80 damage. But it has the additional effect of taking a water, fire, and electric energy from your energy zone and attach them to your bench basic Pokemon in any way you like. Now once we get to our next card, those specific energies will make far more sense, but honestly, this seems like a really good card. It's probably the most consistent tool that you could possibly have for a colorless deck because they typically do not care what energies you're going to have attached to them. And I think that this move is also pretty well balanced in general. It not doing 100 damage is a little bit underwhelming for 3 energies, but the fact that you are also getting 3 additional energies and just completely supercharging your Pokemon that you're going to attach to, that's a pretty decent trade-off in my opinion. And despite the next Pokemon being the one that you really would probably want to focus on Ho-oh EX first, I really do think that this could be slotted into mini decks. So I have a feeling that there will be a lot of experimentation with this card. And next up we have Lugia EX with 150 HP. It is a colorless and it has the move Elemental Blast, which does 180 damage, but requires fire, water, and an electric energy. And once you've attacked, you must discard the fire, water, and electric energy from this Pokemon. So as I mentioned before, it's very obvious that what the devs intend for you to do is play Ho-oh EX, get Phoenix Turbo ready, use it, put all of these energies on Lugia EX, dip out when Ho-oh EX is in danger of getting KO'd, and then just KO whatever is in the active spot with Elemental Blast. And while Lugia EX's attack can do a ton of damage, I think outside being played with Ho-oh EX, I don't even know how you run a deck like this. Sure, you could try and run a colorless deck and then have water, fire, and electric energies be generated, but what are the odds you're actually going to get those over the course of an entire game? And worse enough, you're just going to be losing those as soon as you use this attack once. So in my opinion, I actually don't like Lugia EX a whole lot. There's a lot of setup that is required for you to specifically play this card. If you're not playing Ho-oh EX, it's going to be an absolute killjoy. And even if you are playing Ho-oh EX and you just don't draw into it, well, then you're probably also screwed. So I just don't know if the cost of it is going to be enough of a payout for people to try and find consistency around. Next up on the chopping block are the 3 starters from JOHTO, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. All of these are pretty standard, and I'm actually just going to go through them really quick. They all have their respective types of grass, fire, and water. They all have 60 HP, and they all have a 20 damaging move in Razor Leaf, Flare, and Wave Splash. Some might say it's a little boring that they kind of have all of these same stats, but in my opinion, I think that you should be making the starters at least somewhat equivalent, just so that way one doesn't seem overpowered compared to the others. Then next up, we get a sneak peek at an IR for Pichu. It has 30 HP, like, gosh, little baby Pokemon get sneezed on, it'll just perish. But it has the move Crackly Toss for 0 energies. That's right, 0. That's what that little gray spot there is for. And the effect says take a lightning energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your bench basic Pokemon. Now here's the thing. Being able to use this move without any energy and also having no retreat cost means that this is actually a really good tool for electric, assuming you go first. If you go second, there's a chance that this Pokemon might be KO'd before your turn comes around. Some decks are capable of putting out at least some damage on a first turn, and so Pichu could just get knocked out before you even have the chance to use it and you've lost a point. I think this is really for a very hyper-specific kind of deck where in the very early game you kind of get a huge head start, but then you play a slower late game, maybe with some more single prize Pokemon just on the off chance that Pichu does get KO'd. I by no means think that this card is bad, it is actually kind of crazy. The big risk is that it is super weak and can get sniped very easily. And pretty much in the same vein, we have Cleffa, another baby Pokemon. It has 30 HP and is Psychic type, and it has the move Twinkly Call for, wouldn't you know, also no energy cost. And you put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. Now, I don't really know how much I care for this card in particular. I feel like we have enough generic Pokemon searchers in the game at the moment that you don't have to run this and potentially lose a point. Because again, only having 30 HP just means that even a single like basic Pokemon that's supposed to be part of an evolution could potentially take this out. Between the two, I think Pichu will definitely see more play than Cleffa, but what do I know? There could be a strategy where you just run the minimum amount of Pokemon possible, and if you happen to get Cleffa, you just use that to potentially start off your plays. And up next we have a shiny, and who else could it be but the shiny red Gyarados? Can't be really a Gen 2 set without one. And wouldn't you believe this isn't actually a retrain of any of the Gyarados we've seen so far? Let's go over it. It has 130 HP and is a water type. It has the move Wild Swing for 20 plus damage and 2 water energies. You may discard any number of your bench water Pokemon. This attack does 40 more damage for each of the Pokemon you discarded in this way. Now to me this move is kind of crazy. After kind of reading it over once or twice more, I see that there's a lot of potential with this, especially in future sets. So first off, it's able to get rid of bench water type Pokemon, so if you play a full water core then you're going to get off the effect of Wild Swing, but more importantly, this is actually a decent way to get rid of any damaged water-type Pokemon you have on your bench and prevent a Cyrus KO. These cards like Sabrina and Cyrus have been completely dominating, because I mean, they're just going to naturally be good cards, and other cards like Greninja aren't going to be able to snipe Pokemon on the bench like this either. So I do think that there is also utility in this move, and unless I'm mistaken right now, I don't think that we have a card that returns a Pokemon from the discard pile to your hand so that way you can put it back down. I think once we do see that though, this Gyarados may be a very, very common staple, because just being able to completely recycle your Pokemon over and over again and then use this big move that probably I would say on most occasions is going to be doing 60, maybe upwards of 100 damage, and then, you know, the max would be 140 damage. So right now, I think this Gyarados is good, and later on when we get some of that more support, I think it'll be even better. Then up next, we have two Evolutions, two of them that still had not gotten EXs in Umbreon and Espeon, of course, for Gen 2. Starting off with Umbreon EX, it has 140 HP and is a Dark type, and has the ability Dark Chase. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it to the active spot, and it has Darkness Fang for 80 damage and 2 Dark Energies. Now remember how I was saying that Cyrus is a really good tool right now? Well, now you have that on a card that's not only a stage 1 and should be pretty easy to get out, but it also doesn't have too big of a cost associated to its attack either. So I really do wonder how Umbreon EX is going to perform here, because this just seems super powerful in general. Even if Umbreon EX isn't the one attacking that same turn, all it has to do is be in the active spot, you switch it out, and guess what? You could put in something else completely different and nab a KO. It's kind of been crazy to me because I think both of the Umbreons that have come out so far are kind of nuts, and I guess that'll be a trend moving forward, maybe? We'll see. But next up we have Espeon EX. It has 140 HP and is a Psychic type. It has the ability Psychic Healing, and once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. It also has the attack Super Psybolt for 80 damage for 2 Psychic Energies. Espeon seems generally good. My biggest issue is that the ability Psychic Healing requires Espeon to be in the active spot. And granted, I made the whole pitch for Umbreon earlier where you could just have it in the active spot and then use the ability and then switch it out. But for something as low value as getting some 30 HP back, I don't know, that just seems like it's not going to matter very much in a late game situation. There are a lot of other cards out there that are kind of better at stalling, and I don't even think Psychic as a type uses this really well, unless you're trying to shoehorn it into a Cresselia deck. I mean, I really don't think it's that bad. It still does 80 damage for 2 energies, which is a pretty decent cost. Personally, I think the card is just okay, but you never know. Espeon EX could become a meta contender, and I could be completely wrong. Next, we have a whole suite of trainer cards, and we're going to be starting from left to right with the supporter Lyra. Switch your active Pokemon that has damage on it with one of your bench Pokemon. So my first impression is that I have no idea why you would play this, but it's very obvious that this card is very much meant for decks with very large Pokemon that have huge HP stats, but also have the downside of having 3 energies for a retreat or 4 energies for a retreat. This card is to make sure that you get them out of harm's way, you don't risk a point, and you're also forcing your opponent to do something if you want to chase that card. My big issue though is one that I've had with a lot of supporters that have come out recently, and it's that I don't really know what you replace in a deck to fit this card. unless you're already specifically running Leaf, I don't really know why you would run this over it, especially if you're more afraid of the restriction of the damage counters being on a Pokemon, because if it already has 2 retreat costs, then you're just going to be getting it with Leaf just fine. But, I mean, this card in the future could have mass potential, and heck, for all I know, could have mass potential now. Next up, we have the Supporter Silver. Your opponent reveals their hand, choose a supporter card you find there, and shuffle it into your opponent's deck. So here's the thing, in the normal Pokemon TCG, this card would be, I'd say, good, because it's very common for your opponent to just try and draw their entire deck to get all the pieces they need, and so if they come across a very key supporter that they have, but of course can't use until next turn, you can use Silver to prevent their combo plays and then force them to fish it back. The problem is, though, in that this game, a game with only 20 cards in the deck, and also very rarely more than about like 5 or 6 cards in the hand, at least personally when I've been playing, I really don't know how much is going to be seen. And if you use Silver and you completely whiff, that's not going to feel good. Maybe if there is a very popular supporter card down the line that is for a archetype, Silver might be the one counter to that, but even then, I don't know if you'd play this without absolute certainty that you'd be hitting one, and that also means you have to play a card like Hand Scope, so, I don't know. And next up we have a Pokemon tool, Rescue Scarf. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put it into your hand instead of the discard pile. I would say that this is good if you need a third version of your Pokemon, basically bypassing the 2 Pokemon restriction. I can't tell you off the top of my head what strategies this will work with, but I do think that this will see play for sure. And finally, we have the item elemental switch. You can move a fire, water, or electric energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. I'm just gonna be honest, why is this not just normal energy switch? Why are we restricting it to fire, water, and electric? I guess it's because, you know, that's for Lugia specifically. I don't know, this seems wholly unnecessary. I'm not even going to say it's a bad card, because there are scenarios where, you know, if you play this in a water, fire, or electric deck, great, that's a good tool. But now if you're playing any other deck, this card is basically completely useless. I guess there might be some strategies with Dark or Psychic right now where moving the energies between Pokemon might be a little bit too powerful, but it's a thing you can kind of do already with Dawn, and people still play that. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess just because it's an item and it's got that restriction, that's why they were comfortable releasing it. It's not really a bad card, but the restriction of the energies just seems silly to me when in the normal Pokemon TCG we basically have that, you know, without any restrictions. But that is going to be all the cards from this little sneak peek we got of Wisdom of Sea and Sky. And just a reminder, this will release on July 30th. As per usual, I'm generally excited for the set. I'll be opening it up, and hopefully we'll be seeing some cool cards coming out of it, both in the form of new archetypes and in form of just the super awesome IR artworks that we've seen thus far. But that's going to be it from me. If you did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate a like, and if you want to see more Pokemon TCG Pocket content, a subscribe would be even better. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Hopefully you're having a fantastic night or day, wherever you may be, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!